Hello everyone, my name is Christian. Welcome back to Tekpon. Today our guest is Sean, the founder and CEO at Tykr. Hello.
Hey, how's it going, Christian?
Very good. Excited to have you on the podcast. So at first, please tell us what your company does.
Yeah, so Tykr is a B2C SaaS. We help people manage their own investments with confidence. Our model, like I said, is B2C SaaS. It's a screener, an educational platform all in one. What that means is if you're looking what stocks to look for, what to avoid, when to buy, when to sell, and even how to get started, we're the platform that can solve that problem.
Okay, and who provides the education? You as a platform or some experts?
Yeah, so the platform, you can log in, you can see most stocks from around the world, but there's education within. You get a new email every day. We do have a separate platform, which is Tykr EDU, which are courses, so people can sign up there. It's teachable, so people can walk through. One course has like 60 videos, another has like 40.
Wow. Okay, and do you also include crypto or just stocks?
So yeah, Tykr has stocks, ETFs, which are essentially a bundle of stocks, and
Yes.
crypto. However, just so you guys know, we can't analyze crypto because crypto is not a business. It does not have an income statement, cash flow statement, and balance sheet. But we do use crypto to bring in the crypto traders and introduce them to value investing.
Nice. Taking them to the right side, right?
That's right.
Or, yeah. Not right or wrong, but let's say other side, other perspective.
We could dive into crypto all day, but like in our education, we tell people if you do invest in crypto, go 5% or less of your net worth because it can be highly volatile. And I've seen people like take a second mortgage on their home and lose everything. It's like, you don't want to do that.
Wow. Yeah. What did you say are the top 3 most loved features of the platform?
My number one feature is the watch list feature. You can add a stock to the watch list, and if anything changes, we gamify the experience a little bit. So there's a point system between 0 and 100. The higher the score, the safer the investment. If that score changes, you automatically get an email notification. I call it the set it and forget it feature. So watch list would be 1. 2 would probably be the stocks table. You can search and filter and sort by any stock you want, which is pretty cool. And then the third feature we just launched this week, which is the new 4M tool, which is powered by OpenAI. I'll give you context on what the 4Ms are. A lot of investors out there make the mistake, especially in Wall Street, they only look at the numbers. Investing is more than just numbers and math. So the 4Ms are the margin of safety part of investing being the first M. That's the first M regarding numbers. The other 3 M's don't relate to numbers. The other 3 M's are the meaning, moat, and management. So meaning is the business model. How many revenue streams does it have and how scalable are those revenue streams? Then the moat is the competitive advantage. How does a company compare to other companies in the same sector and industry? And then the last M is the management. That's the track record of the CEO. So we had to do this manually in the past, but now with the help of ChatGPT, pretty much all automated, and people are going nuts about it. It's pretty cool.
That's so cool. Yeah, I wanted to ask about the first feature. Let's say if Apple has some bad news, for example, the news that they cannot sell Apple Watches because of the copyright issues or something. Do you get an email notification saying that Apple stock is riskier right now?
It won't be related to news because news can be very emotional driven and it can be written usually by somebody who's looking for clicks on like New York Times or whatever publication. But if an earnings report, every quarter there's earnings reports. If something changes with like the profits or the debts, that's when you get the notification. Like we cut through the clutter and get right to, in this case, the numbers. So you get the notification.
Yeah, the news would probably be too emotional, as you said.
Like if we used emotions or news, like the amount of alerts you'd get per day would be off the hook, especially if it was Tesla, because all the news like Elon Musk. It's like, it's good, it's bad, it's good, it's bad. Like
today you sell, tomorrow you buy.
Yeah, like no. You don't want to be inundated with that kind of noise.
That's awesome. And also I like the idea of the AI, the OpenAI ChatGPT.
Yeah.
How else do you think it can impact your business?
Well, number one, saves a ton of time. Again, the 4M analysis, and give context there, Warren Buffett has always told us, Charlie Munger too, who recently passed, but invest in businesses like, for example, I've been working in tech close to 20 years, but I don't have a lot of experience in pharma. So I usually gravitate towards tech, avoid that which I don't know. And another guy that kind of coined the term the 4Ms is Phil Town. He teaches in a few books. And then we went a step further to make a software that really does everything for you and gamifies this 4M experience thanks to ChatGPT. So what could take you 15, 20, 25 minutes, sometimes an hour to do a 4M, you can get through in less than 60 seconds. It's so cool.
Nice. I love that. And usually, what are your customers? So, any industry is just people looking to invest, or do you have some, let's say, regions?
We serve retail investors, so we're B2C play, B2C business model right now. We have a little over 8,000 customers in about 50 countries, but it's typically about 80% of the customers are complete beginners. And I'll say this, like if I talk about Tykr like I am now, don't take my word for it. I always say go to Trustpilot to see what our customers have to say. And I'm very proud to say we've got a 4.9 out of 5. So again, don't listen to me. I'll talk about the platform, but don't hear me out. But 80% of our customers are typically beginners, and they will tell you that Tykr is probably best in class when it comes to making it super easy and understandable how to really own your investments. The other 20% would be people who are like, they've been investing for a while. They use other platforms like Seeking Alpha and Simply Wall Street, which are two really good platforms. They're a little more complex, though. You do need to have some experience. You need to know, like, what is a P to E ratio? What's market cap? Debt to equity ratio, stuff like that.
Yes.
Then you'll get it. So we do bring in that audience as well, but we really focus on that beginner category.
And you also have customers that are like companies, or just individuals?
Not yet, but we are starting to talk to a few brokers. I'll give you little details there.
Oh, okay.
So a lot of brokers, like where I live in the States, Robinhood is big, TD Ameritrade. I use TD Ameritrade. There's E-Trade. There's a big problem where a lot of investors join a broker and they invest like between $100 and $1,000 and they sit. They'll sit for 3 months, 6 months, a year. And the problem is, in talking to the brokers, some brokers, they have said they call these new beginners tire kickers. They don't make any money for the brokers. And at the same time, it doesn't do them any favors because they're not going to build your wealth. So what Tykr does, it teaches you need to be buying stocks every month. You need to be, and the Motley Fool says this too, a net buyer. You're always buying more than you're selling and using compound interest in your favor. So we're working on some potential partnerships, but that's the idea, is like if we could partner with a large broker and help their customers make more transactions, that could potentially bring Tykr hundreds of thousands of, if not millions of users like that. So that's the big channel partner play. And my background is in enterprise tech, so this is a very familiar space for me.
That's great. Yeah, it sounds really exciting, and it's a big opportunity. I'm curious now about the competitors in the space. Mm-hmm. Do you have any competitors, or how does it work? How do you see the space?
Yeah, so there are a few solid companies like Seeking Alpha and Simply Wall Street I mentioned earlier. They're both pretty good. They're screeners, and they have tools in them like Tykr. So you've got watch lists and portfolio trackers and alerts. And that's all great. Mm-hmm. But keep in mind, Seeking Alpha and Simply Wall Street, they do require probably somebody who's a little more advanced. They've been investing for a while, especially Seeking Alpha. Simply Wall Street is probably next to Tykr, probably one of the easiest to use. There's still some complexity. Great platform. Again, both good companies. So those are the top big players. And I will always give raving reviews of my competitors because they're doing one cool thing, which is making investing more approachable for the regular person like you and I. So it's like, hey, keep doing your thing, keep helping people out because you're only going to help us.
Absolutely. I like your mindset. But I'm curious to know, there's not any investing done in your platform, right? Just people add their numbers.
Correct. We're not a broker. I didn't want to go down the broker path, and this would be a whole different project in itself, but you have to become a licensed broker in every country you're serving. And that can take a lot of money and a lot of time, and you can't scale very fast. And we already hit a certain momentum point where, okay, we've got customers in Europe, in Canada, in the US, Indonesia, Philippines, and it's like, it would almost be detrimental to say, hey, we're going to become a broker because they would not get services. So that's why let's stay the screener. We don't have any boundaries, any borders. However, we are partnering with a company that will allow broker connections. We've talked to two different companies out there, Plaid as well as SnapTrade. The guys at SnapTrade, I've known for a while. And how it works is one connection to Tykr. You can choose from a list of brokers. There will be like a dozen to start, including Fidelity, TD Ameritrade, Robinhood, DeGiro. DeGiro is really big in Europe. Then when you make trades in your broker, those trades are automatically updated in Tykr. So you don't like your portfolio tracker. You don't have to do anything manual. Yeah.
That's great. I love that. Now we have the second part of the podcast. I love to know the story of the company and how you started it.
All right, I'll try to keep it to 2 minutes or so, but my background is about 20 years in business. I started my first company in the 2000s. It was an agency. This was in 2006. Started an agency, did a lot of software, websites, video for small businesses. Didn't make any money through the recession, but was able to kind of scale the company, add more employees. We added a lot more customers, but in a service model, as you know, you add more customers, like in a service model, you have to add more employees. So your revenues scale at the same speed as your liabilities, which is that's not a good model. But anyway, learned a lot. And we did grow quite a bit in 2010, went through a merger. And it wasn't like a check was written to me. It was all debts and liabilities wiped clean. So it's fresh slate. And I knew what kind of business I wanted to create next, which was a SaaS business. I looked at like Netflix and Salesforce and MailChimp, and I said, that's what I want to do. But I didn't have any great ideas. So I went to work for large corporations. I did a lot of corporate contracting, specifically project management. I worked with companies like GE and Kohler, really, really good companies. And I did that for about 12 years in parallels. When I got into investing, started with angel investing and didn't make a lot of money, kind of break even. It's very risky because you're investing in new startups that don't have any runway or product market fit, and it can be a gamble. So 2015 came along and I said, reset. Let's do what Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger have done, which said, Warren Buffett says, if you were managing $1 million, even $10 million, you can make 50% per year consistently. And I knew, using my software engineering background, I'm like, okay, so he's not gambling. He's not using feelings or emotions. What is he doing? It's probably logic. That's probably a starting point. So I went down the YouTube rabbit hole, read as many books as I could, and I mentioned him earlier, found Phil Town, and he does have some calculations in a few of his books, including, I'll list them right now, Rule 1 and Payback Time. There's a third book called Invested he wrote with his daughter, Danielle. I didn't read it. I'm sure it's great. But Rule 1 and Payback Time, I used some of the calculus. And at that point, I knew he was doing something different because there's more rigor. And what I mean by that is he was looking at more than just a P to E ratio and market cap and making a decision. He was looking at revenue, EPS, debts, equity, like more than I've ever seen. I'm like, that to me on the surface makes sense. So I took those calculations, put them into Excel, added my own flavor to it, as well as a gaming system. So it's stocks, higher the score, the safer the investment. Because I want to know, like, definitively, is a stock a good investment or bad? I don't want to waffle between, like, what am I doing here? So I used that Excel sheet for about 4 years and made returns between 15 and 50% consistently, actually pretty close to that 50%. I'm like, okay, I may have something here. So it was 2019. Started sharing this Excel sheet with a few other people, retail investors, and even an institution or two. And everybody was like, when are you going to turn this into software so we can use it? I'm like, there we go. 10 years later, I've got a SaaS idea. So Tykr took about a year to build the first version. We went live in 2020, and it took 6 months to get the first paying customer. But I knew that because I've been building tech for a long time. What I did is I brought in about 100 customers for free, but in return, I said, I need fast feedback, and I want you to tell me with honesty what is bad about the program so I can make it better. I don't want to hear what's good. I want to know what's bad. And right. And that allowed me to iterate the platform and get us to where we're at today. So a little over 3 years live. And like I said, over 8,000 customers.
That's an amazing story. And I guess you're bootstrapped, right?
Bootstrapped. Yes. No capital raised.
And are you planning to keep it that way?
We are entertaining investors. We have been approached, but I'm being particular because I'd like to partner with an investor that has connections to brokers. Because if I can get a channel partner play along with capital, that's the secret sauce. And so far, a few investors, they're nice people, but it's not the right fit. So I am being particular.
Yeah, understand.
Yeah.
But the partnership would help you a lot.
Yeah.
How big is the overall team right now?
So it's about 7 of us total, and it's kind of a 50-50 split between an engineering team and media team. I really double down on. I've got a podcast, YouTube channel. We put out a lot of content. That organic, evergreen, lead gen from especially YouTube is a great place to be for B2C.
That was my next question about the education and go-to-market strategies.
Mm-hmm.
So please tell us more about the podcast and how you're attracting leads.
Yeah, so I launched the podcast Payback Time at the same time that Tykr went live because I knew the best networking tool out there is a podcast, especially in today's day and age, post-COVID, right?
Yes.
So get the podcast out, and there are really 2 reasons why I wanted to launch the podcast. One is making the connections because, as talked about in the book, Who, Not How, you got to be networking, right? So that's number one. Number 2 is the podcast is actually a lead gen source in itself. People hear the podcast and then they'll jump to Tykr. Payback Time, I'll give a quick 15 seconds. It's more than just stock investing. It's about building businesses. I also bring on people in real estate investing, venture capitalists, private equity, people building service businesses, SaaS businesses. It's kind of a wider spectrum. But if you want to know, how do I build a business? How do I scale a business? That's what the podcast is for. But anyway, so the podcast is like one of the number 1 tools. Number 2 would be YouTube. That's big. Number 3, channel partners. Again, going for those fintechs or larger organizations. And then number 4 would be affiliates. Affiliates and channel partners are similar. How I differentiate them, channel partners are big businesses where affiliates could be like some blogger, some YouTuber that wants to promote Tykr. And then we pay them a reoccurring commission. Just not a one time, it's reoccurring. And they love that because they can make a reoccurring revenue from Tykr.
Yeah, it's a trend and people love it. That's great, and I appreciate the transparency. And how did you get your first customers?
Gosh, that was probably word of mouth, just talking to people. The first 100 people getting in the platform, they probably started talking to other people and then they joined. That's probably the easiest way to go. And then thereafter is probably the podcast and then affiliates. Channel partners, we haven't locked in a big partner yet, but again, we're pretty close. That's when this thing goes to a whole nother stratosphere. So it takes a little longer to get there.
Absolutely. How about the biggest challenge? What were the lessons that you learned along the journey since
a lot.
founding the company?
Fortunately, I've had a few business failures before this, so I learned a lot before creating Tykr. But with Tykr, probably the biggest challenge, gosh, there are a few. Partnering with the right people, that's always tough. Really finding solid A players, not B or C, but A players that can make heads up plays. I'm a sports guy. I grew up playing sports, so I like people that have what I like. When I bring on people, I'll ask them the question, explain to me field awareness or court awareness. What does that mean to you? And if they have no idea, you don't have a chance working at Tykr. You have to know what's going on in the company without looking at somebody. You have to know what problems are happening, and you got to go ahead and you got to take action. Those are the people we want. So we fortunately have a pretty good team now, but getting through that was tough. And then we're actually facing a little bit of a problem right now we're working through is scaling our data because we have about 30,000 stocks. How do we get to 60,000? How we scale that with our servers and whatnot. So it's not a huge problem, but it's something that's keeping me up at night a little bit. How do we level up here? So you'll always have that with a big data. We're not big data, but we have a lot of data in our company.
Yeah. And I'd love to know the future vision for the company. So what are your plans for the next year?
Yeah, so this is the big motivator here. So this relates to people being on track for retirement. Gen X was between ages 41 and 56 only have about $40,000 saved, and 57% of Gen X believe they won't be able to retire, especially by retirement age. In the US is 65. Millennials, Gen Y, which is between ages 25 and 40, they are approximately, I know there's a Zennial thing between X and Y, but anyway, 50% believe they won't be able to retire. And get this, Gen Z, 35% won't retire. And the problem is sure, like inflation is increasing, but people are putting their money into bundled products like mutual funds, ETFs, and index funds, which gets you 6 to 8% per year after inflation. Like, and I use this analogy when I teach people at Tykr. It's like showing up at the Indy 500 with a 1995 4-cylinder Dodge Neon that probably goes 100 miles an hour. Like, while everybody else is going 230 miles an hour, you're this dog just going super slow. So that's why Warren Buffett has taught us you need to be in individual stocks. So our community is like, it's that light bulb moment. Like, I can get back on track. I can shorten my timeline to retirement or financial independence because it's money working for you as opposed to you working for money. So when we get into Tykr and you start using it, like, you should be expecting between 15 and 50% per year. It's not hard to achieve. Like, anybody can. And that's when you really change the game for yourself financially.
No, I'm impressed. Yeah, a really good explanation. And do you see the popularity of stocks going up or going down?
They're going up, like, because we had a recession in 2022, part of 23. So people were fearful. They kind of backed out. But we're seeing the slingshot effect with stocks. People are flooding the market again. And we're especially seeing it with crypto, because I'm in other Facebook groups that are all about stocks and crypto. The amount of chatter going on with crypto right now, it is insane. Like, everybody's like flooding in. And I always tell people, don't go all in on Doja coins. Be careful. But at the same time, show them like, hey, Tykr is going to be a safer way to not only build your wealth, but, protect it.
Nice. What would be your best piece of advice for a starting founder?
For a starting founder, I would say this is key: is don't worry about building your tool. Use a tool like Figma to use designs and get in front of people and talk to people. Because that's what I essentially did, is I started talking to people about Tykr with an Excel sheet, get their feedback early. And then when you have a good idea, then think about building your MVP. I see too many people out there looking to build a tool, go to market. That's a complete waste of time and money. Just either use Figma for design or use an Excel sheet like I did and just get feedback fast.
That's the rule, yeah?
Yeah.
I have one last question that I ask everybody on the podcast. What's your favorite SaaS product that you use, but apart from Tykr?
What other SaaS products do I use?
Yes, your favorite. Let's say top 1, top 3.
I love Slack. Slack is number one for communication, is really big. This wouldn't be a SaaS product, be more of an infrastructure as a product, which is Hetzner we use for our server. We used to be on AWS, and Hetzner saved us a lot of money for hosting. And then we do use some open source platforms like Mautic for email delivery, which has been, it's decent, but it's like MailChimp, but it's free. But you need to know what you're doing. Like, our tech team was able to set that up. So not really SaaS, but it's that model.
I appreciate that. Is there anything else that you want to mention today on the episode?
Yeah, if anybody's interested in investing on their own, Tykr is 14-day free trial, no credit cards. So I welcome you. Give it a test drive, and if it's your thing, we welcome you to stick with us. Otherwise, go on your way. But
do you also have a free version?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's not freemium. It's you get in 14 days, and then from there, you can upgrade. Our plans are, this is in US dollars. We use Netflix as inspiration because no matter where you're at, whatever country, you're going to see a different price and an appropriate price for your country. So in the US, it's $99 a year and then $15 a month. So you save about 3 months, get 3 months where you go through yearly. But yeah, get in, give us a test drive, Tykr, TYKR.com. Give us a try.
Thank you so much, Sean. You did fantastic, and I really enjoyed our conversation. Very insightful.
Yeah. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.